not connected yet. What do you think I'm doing?
Well, I didn't know what you were getting an error
I
with.
am trying to connect to the streaming. So it just went live. So now I have to go check. So you can start the
Okay.
meeting. I can stop. It shows me that it's live.
Okay, yes, now we're live.
Yeah, what do you think I was doing for the last 8 minutes?
I don't know what you were doing.
Because you said you were gonna prep it and you prepped it wrong.
Yeah, because I don't use Zoom.
Well, a lot of people do use Zoom, so we still have to show them how to connect the Zoom room of 1,000 people to Restream.
Yeah, I think I'm not a Zoom fan anymore. I don't think there's a use in my life for Zoom at this moment. So I'm just all anti-Zoom because I don't need it right now. So psh, on that, let's welcome everybody. Thank you so much. It is Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. You're here joining myself, Julianne Duffy, and oh, my husband just disappeared, Michael Duffy. We're
I'm here.
asking. There we go. At YouTube University, Ask Us Anything. So today we're going to dive a little bit more into some of the tech tips and techniques that are like best practices as a creator. So we're going to dive into those later today. However, we want to start as always by taking questions and opening it up to anybody that has some questions. Now, I know Lucretia made a comment already today that she had some tech issues when she went live last week. So she was 10 minutes late, but was fine. I went way longer than planned. So that's it. You know what? I feel that. I know how that is. And what's your comment on that, Mike?
My comment is that it's okay to be late because we want to build up anticipation with the audience. And what have you ever seen it in your life where things have been on time? You know when you're watching something, doesn't matter if it's, traditional TV news or a big Zoom event like a Tony Robbins thing or Grant Cardone thing, and they tell you to show up on the hour and they're 40 minutes late. It's because they're having tech issues.
Yep.
So we've already been trained that this hour, we're just getting you into the mindset to restream's nice because it doesn't matter if you're doing a live or Zoom that we're doing today or broadcasting a pre-recorded video. You can schedule an event in the future and build up anticipation, send out organic invites, blah blah blah. You can build up this event and then if it's a recording, it's just going to autoplay, which is nice. If it's in the Restream studio, well, you just have to show up on time and have your camera, microphone, all that stuff ready to go. The only real complexity is if you schedule an event is Zoom, just because people get um, sometimes there's a connection issue with Zoom when they're about to go live, and sometimes they're just caught in the deer in the headlights because the Zoom video's on and then the Restream video's on, and the Restream video's like 30-45 second delay. I had a student earlier this week and she had issues on her first Zoom Restream live stream on Monday. So I remoted in and we stepped through the process to the point where she admitted where she screwed up. And I'm like, hey, great. You figured out you screwed up. So let's just make sure Tuesdays goes ahead. And she's like, well, I don't want to do it now because I screwed up. I'm like, we're only going to have success if you screw up, acknowledge you screwed up, and then keep going. So,
Well,
and her
I want to
Tuesday
make a
morning one
comment.
went fine. So I was like, hey, see, it's just a matter of, you know,
Well, showing up is the most important part. And that is actually part of what we're going to talk about later today is about especially early on, this is the time to play around and try these things and make the mistakes. When you don't have a huge audience, it's probably the best time to have things not work. And even when you do get a huge audience, like Mike's saying with like Grant Cardone, you know what? I think we're just used to things not working. You know, it, we are trying with all our students to practice, make sure they know how to do live, but we can't guarantee that when they go live that something didn't get clicked. So we want to make sure we're there to support them to get it as smoothly as possible, because there's always unforeseen, whether your internet connection is good that day, whether the internet even wants to work for anybody that day.
well,
And
I also think the ones we've chat the ones that the students in the visibility engine, it's also been that it's different when you're watching us here on Saturday and you go to do it yourself. You're literally doing it yourself. So when we're stepping you through it, the we're going to be alerted right away if there is performance issues because, you need to have a good solid internet connection. Um, your computer needs to be fast, and that's if you're doing it yourself, you're going to kind of just ignore it. But when you're corresponding with me and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, like why are we having an issue with this? So why are we having an issue with this? Like I'm gonna step through your whole tech setup with you to say, hey, even Julie, like she's been recently I've been recording how-tos for our students using Restream, and she's like, why do you sound like a robot? And I was like, but you don't normally sound like a robot. Like, why does that recording sound so robotic? And I'm like, well, it's a brand new MacBook. I'm using the built-in microphone. So I'm like, oh, maybe I had too many things open on my computer and I recorded in Restream and I recorded right after that. I didn't sound like a robot. But of course now I'm like, hey, I've got a bunch of different mic.
Grew up playing sports.
There can be tech, there can be just, random tech issues. So that's why we want to test things thoroughly, do test
Well,
lives
and
every
what you
single
pointed
week.
out is perfect. Isn't a good example of like not even realizing that too many open tabs were causing your problem, right? And that's something until you've ran into that, you don't even necessarily know that that would even be possibly an issue with the streaming, right? With what your voice comes in. There's so many unknown factors. It's always amazing to me when we find something else that causes an issue and we're like, that was what caused it. We're like, okay, I'll just twitch a little bit because that makes lots of
Right.
sense.
It's like reboot the internet, reboot your computer, like all this stuff, this prep time, like half hour, 45 minutes before you plan to do anything. Um,
And it still may not be enough time
no,
because you
I may
might still be
not.
running into issues. Like my live on Sunday last week, I was not up for it. I was like not in a good mood and everything got pushed back. I was over 20 minutes late. I
So
actually had
your
my mom
audience, my
was texting me asking me where I was. So I don't have a huge audience, but my audience was waiting for me. And so I showed up even though it was late, but I showed up, right? And so this is the point of like even with I know David made a comment about it's okay for nothing is perfect, right? Authenticity is good. And that's true. It's like being perfectly imperfect. Humans, we are not AI. We are not going to, well, and even AI does not do anything perfect because if
I
you're
was gonna
using
say.
AI, it always tells you it can make mistakes, right? And but with us, and especially with being humans, the 99% of people have had the experience of understanding and have, you know, are very flexible with people waiting for people to show up because they know there's tech issues. Like everybody's seen it, whether they've attended some large event online, like a Grant Cardone one, or whether they've done like personal ones. I don't know anybody who's never ran into a tech issue, right? So
I,
there is, so we have
I
to
love
get
it.
out of that perspective that people are judging. They don't actually care. They just want to hear you if they've been waiting for you, right? So showing up is still important even if you show up late. You want to still show up, and that's the most important.
Well, because I've even recently I've been to things where you show up and there's a video feed and there's no audio feed, and it's because they said, "Hey, let's do this in-person event." They had a little bit of interest for streaming component of it, whether or not they are charging for that or not, but they just added this live virtual version on, and they had to figure out the tech stack if they were going to do it on Zoom or whatever, and then they're like, "Wait a minute." The microphone and PA system for the room, how do we tap that into the computer? And you know that they think they may have done their test run the night before and then the day of it's not working. And then there's
Yep.
like no audio for 20, 30 minutes as they're trying to figure out what they screwed up or something's unplugged. So,
Well,
yeah.
and it's one of those things. Okay, this makes me think about. Actually, I was watching a video. So this is a creator. I'm assuming at this point he's got more subs after this video. So he did a video, and he's Canadian, and he went to like the five major fast food chains and seeing what he could get for like $8 Canadian, right? And testing out what was a good deal, what wasn't, and there were so many weird things. Like he was actually quite entertaining to watch and he put in a lot of work into this video, but he would literally just be like, oh, I feel like this is like bad, or he'd make some side comment, and I get it, he's making a joke because it was imperfect, but at some same level it's like I don't I don't know what he thinks other people are expecting on his video, but I like that it's not perfect. I like that he's, asking his friend because he wants his friend to tell him his favorite place to eat is Burger King. And his friend doesn't tell him that, and then he tells his friend to cue him to say it, and he keeps it in, right? So there is something of where it's so much more relatable being human and not being perfect, right? Because with AI, that it is giving us this weird illusion that things can be perfect, which they're not. And AI does not have our creativity, does not have our authenticity. And as we were talking about on our live on Thursday, the biggest thing it does not have that cannot replace us being human is our intuition. And so we're going to be able to help people substantially more than AI. AI can mirror, AI might come off. Like I know one of the studies we've come across is 72% of teens, especially in the US, are using AI for something other than just research and helping them do their homework. They're using it as a companion, as somebody to talk to. And that okay, so we're in this time where we're changing the way we communicate. This is also why we really want everybody that's left that's human to be seen, to go out and put your message, right? Because you know, we need that human interaction no matter what happens since 2020 how much our life has changed so much. There is a bigger need to really connect with other humans, even if it is online or whatever, right? And just putting out that signal because it is unfortunate. It is, I feel a little bit sad that 72% of kids, teens are using as like one of their best friends is AI. Not gonna lie, I have a love-hate relationship with AI. Sometimes it's my best friend and I'm like, it's so great and it worked well. Then there's other days and I'm like, I hate it. I'm gonna go destroy
You're
its
just flipping
server.
the bird as AI. Okay.
Yes, flip the bird to the AI. It's driving me crazy today. Um, you know, either way, the reality is that I know with I'm watching stuff, like it's becoming apparent when it's somebody who truly put effort into their show versus somebody who's literally just not that they didn't put effort, but how much is more is human versus how much is being created and they're just repurposing it that AI created, right? So, is it right or wrong? We're going through a transition, so it's going to be interesting to see how that all melds out. But however, I do think that there's definitely going to be a push where people are going to want to see more and more authentic people, and being late, having tech glitches. We do the best to minimize them, but you can't guarantee that everything is always going to work perfectly because we do not even live in a perfect reality.
Far from it.
Far from it. So I guess, is anybody else have any other questions before we get in? Does anybody else have any concerns? Like I know Lucretia, had a little bit of the setup because she was saying like that was what she wasn't sure she did. Did you have any questions on the setup that we might be able to answer for you, or do you think you're good? Are you going to go live again today, Lucretia, at after I think it was 11 you went last week? Are you planning to do it again?
I'm gonna try.
You're gonna try. You're
You
gonna do it. You're gonna
you
do
hear
it.
this voice though? Like I have like a really bad like chest thing, so we're gonna attempt and see how long we can go for. Um, but you know, we
I
probably won't go the 2 hours that we did last time or 2.5 hours, and that's fine.
Well, exactly. Just showing up and starting to build that consistency is extremely powerful because the people that start to follow you are going to start to expect to
Well,
see you.
it's funny because I was on a podcast yesterday in New York, and the guy's like, my friend Sifu, and he's like, "Can you show me how to chop up video?" And I'm like, "How about I record, go live, showing you the tools and how to do it?" He's like, "Perfect," because he's like, "I'm not chopping up anything," and I got like 12 shows, and I'm like, "I know you got a lot of shows." And I know you're excited for me to come to New York so I can show you I'm like, there's a couple different methods, but I understand you're going to learn best from watching somebody do it and have the recording of somebody doing it. So I was given homework yesterday.
Are you going to follow up and see if he did the homework, or are you doing the
No,
homework?
no,
Who
no.
got the
I
homework?
have to do the homework because what I did, I started doing it yesterday. I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna grab the link he sent me and go dump it into Opus Clip. But I was like, wait a minute. I told him I would record this whole process just to show you what Opus Clip will do as free for you with a watermark versus you doing it. I said I would do it for him in YouTube, but then I have to upload it to our YouTube and do it. So it's like I told him I would give him like a couple different methods of chopping it up into clips because he says he's interested in learning. So I'm like, this is, the whole reason I went on the podcast yesterday was to, promote our book launch, promote YouTube University, as well as tell a YouTuber that I can help them, we can help them with more creativity for a show. So I just have to, demonstrate it by doing it. So it's
Well,
great.
we have realized that we have to demonstrate by learning these things. And in fairness, like we realize we may not be the most interesting people. We may not ever have millions of followers. We Mike laughs because we've both gotten feedback that we're boring at different times. Like our daughter telling us that one of our shows, the Two Truths and a Lie, she likes that show, but dad is boring. He's not enthusiastic enough, right? And fair enough, like, and I didn't know that we should have spent our university getting broadcasting degrees and learning how to, literally do news shows. We didn't have that. That wasn't really part of our reality. And now we're working on getting more to be more interesting, and all of that. But what we can do is learning all the stuff we've learned and having all our own problems and getting over our own hurdles. We've got so much knowledge. We want people that are way more interesting to be successful. Because there's so many people, and all you guys in the group have such interesting perspectives and have different skills. So we want to help you get that so you can find the people that are going to resonate with you, right? So it's just interesting because, in fairness, YouTube, you will find your people, whether it takes you years to find them, whether it takes you months, or whether you just, get that one video that resonates at the right timing and what people are looking for. People have all these different experiences, but the most important is that you do show up and put your little light out there, because no one's going to find you if you're not doing something. This is the problem. If you want to be found, and especially since we're all over the place, you have to show up somehow. And there's not really another way. Like, yeah, you can show up locally. My daughter is now part of this farmer's market, and she's going weekly with her grandma, and she's selling her crafts and having a little bit of success. But if she really wants to expand it, we're also promoting her to get her website up. So start talking about when she's making her content to promote people. She has a website selling things she makes, right? So it's just getting it and building this base that you can expand from. Now, Krisha's got another question about YouTube Kids. Did you want to jump in and let us know what exactly you were wondering about that, Krisha?
Yeah, so I just don't know when, and Mike and I were talking about it a bit last weekend, but because some of my stuff, like the cerebral palsy stuff that I'm doing, is to help kids transition from being a kid with cerebral palsy to being an adult with cerebral palsy. So those videos might be geared to like that younger crowd, and I just don't know when to like click that button or not, like check that off or not check it off for my content.
I see what you're saying. I
I was only aware of this because when I watched her live last
Mhm.
Saturday, so props for going live. Very proud of you. You won't be when I clicked subscribe. The only reason I knew was because I clicked subscribe on your channel and I clicked all notifications, and it told me blunt out that because the video was tagged marked for kids, you cannot be notified of that creator when they go live. And I haven't spent a lot of time. So good question.
Well, okay, my experience, I wouldn't put it marked for kids. I wouldn't do anything marked for kids unless you're legitimately making just children's content, okay? And the reason is because it will stop it from being seen. And if these are kids that are transitioning to adulthood, I bet they're not actually even on kids' YouTube anymore. Like if I look at my daughter, the people that are responding to her, she doesn't post it for kids. She's 13. And the people that are responding and will remix some of her artwork are like, have to be her age as well. And so they're finding it through the adult one anyways, because there was one where this is when you realize you're so old. Nobody loves my stuff and remix my stuff and tells me fan art. My daughter gets fan art and gets remixes of her videos. And then there was one where it's obviously a little boy who was inspired by her video, put a link to hers because that's how she knew it was made and it was like linked, and then did a version himself. And you could tell by his voice, he had to be the same age as her. And this is not kids' YouTube, right? So in what you're doing, because you're in that transition age, I wouldn't put it for kids because that's going to just make it really difficult to be found. I would keep it as is, and I would just explain it in the title and in the description what you're doing. Maybe you just put a playlist of, the series where
Well,
you're helping children or young adults adjust into being adults with this, right? I don't know. What is your thought on that, Mike?
well, I'm just assuming they're gonna run more scrupulous check. Okay, we get a perfect, not a perfect example, but um, one of our visibility students, Jared, got taken down this week, right? And he's like, Mike, what did I do wrong? And I'm like, what you did wrong is you're consistent. So because he's been in YouTube, he's in his fifth week of the visibility engine. He's got 22 shorts up. So he's been a machine making shorts. And he got completely taken down this
Because
week.
AI can't believe that a human could be that consistent. That is what I'm starting to believe is AI doesn't believe humans can be that
So, but
consistent.
I'm like, we've had that experience of being taken down and flagged and demonetized. So we're teaching you our steps of being monetized YouTubers, but we've both been demonetized, and then we've gotten it back. So we've gone through the hassle of building channel, building audience, building content, and getting flagged, and having to go through YouTube re-education. Like we've gone through all of this bullshit, right? But I've never seen anybody get flagged within the first month of having their account. So like,
Well,
hey,
in fairness, well, when I started going and I started doing live, like when I started doing my regular every day was before there was a bunch of AI stuff, before AI was really
so
a big thing on
but,
YouTube.
but Jared doesn't post any AI video.
I know he doesn't.
So anyway, back to the point of this whole thing is that he was flagged right away, and he's like, "What do I do?" And I'm like, "The number one thing you do as a human is you appeal, because if you don't appeal, they're gonna know you're." So in his case, he got obviously AI picked up on him because he's been doing both lives, and he's got 22 shorts out in 5 weeks. And obviously that is not normal behavior for a human. I'm not
Well,
sure,
and can
but
I also make the note? He did find a really good trick of where he's made his videos so short that you don't even realize you've already watched it 4 or 5 times.
he's looping it in like under 10 seconds.
Exactly, exactly. So he's got people stuck in that loop, which is actually really, really great because of what he's doing. He can definitely do that because you're
So,
watching the laser engraving, right?
so,
And I wonder if that triggered it
okay,
too
so,
because it's so short.
so whatever. So he's figuring out his stuff. So I said, "Hey, are you open to setting up a backup account?" And he's like, "Sure." He's like, "Everybody I know who's successful has a backup account." He's like, "You have backup accounts, Mike." I'm like, "Yes, I do have backup accounts, right?" So as soon as he set up his backup account and put up one of his shorts, flagged again. So I said, "Hey, I'll appeal it." He Anyway, so he's got them back, right? So we know YouTube is just using a lot of AI screening on channels. So with marking them for kids, I don't know what other levels of screening that those videos are going through. I just noticed that when I went to subscribe to your notifications, it told me I can't, videos made for kids, you can't subscribe to notification for those videos. So I'm like, well, that's just instantly decreasing your reach, because if you want to build up an audience, they would be subscribing to you and notify and turning on the bell for notifications. And if you're marking the stuff for kids, they can't receive notifications about that content. So I'm like, realistically, what else are they doing in the background to filter um your an audience away from discovering you? Like it's
And
just
all I can say about the kids thing is I find it weird because people still report just totally inappropriate things on kids' YouTube, getting through that scan. So I leave it alone.
because I, because
And
I,
based out,
because I
sorry,
assume when you're marking it for kids, that's triggering YouTube to go analyze and put a few more layers of analysis on it before they move it strictly to Kids YouTube, right? Because
Yes, yes.
YouTube Kids is a completely different platform.
Yes, yes. And
And
I appreciate that because if you do have kids, you don't want and you give them YouTube Kids, you don't want to have them watch really
but
inappropriate things, but it
there's
still isn't like it's funny because it'll still take down things that are totally appropriate and let things that are inappropriate. So it's not
so
a
there
perfect.
Mike and Julia, can I just make a comment to Sakria on the topic and why it might not be appropriate for her to just make it for kids?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I wanted to get that comment to her. So, Sakria, I've got a lot of background in disability education. And so within that, I think that you might be targeting the youth, but I think you're really targeting the parents, the community members. I think you're really targeting people who need to know and understand transition.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to be really wanting to target that audience and not worried about it. Because more than likely, 9 chances out of 10, that youth is not going to be watching that.
Well,
And
and that's
adults,
exactly what I was going to say,
right?
Roxy.
Yeah.
I was going to point out is that it's a lot of the parents will come across it and then they're going to share it with their
Yes. They're
kids,
going to
right?
Yeah,
share.
yeah.
Yes.
Like I know
Yeah.
that, but like for me, because I'm so high functioning, I would be the one that's like bringing this to my parents, and like
Well,
I have a lot of
exactly.
friends the same way. So I'm like,
Right.
where do I draw that line? But it makes sense if it's gonna limit the reach. I don't want that. So
well,
we'll just
the other thing I've really noted, you've heard of AI, and not saying your stuff's AI because I watched it, you're a human behind a screen, but since YouTube is doing this huge AI purge right now, most of the AI content on YouTube is kids' cartoons.
Yes.
And what I've seen, like um there's government agencies in Europe right now that are literally sending in lists of all, because if you go on YouTube Kids, you're like the whole world of AI slop where there's videos with words not even spelled properly, that's on YouTube Kids right now. So YouTube is literally going in, and governments in, Europe and whatever other places are sending in lists of like, pull this down now or we're gonna ban YouTube at a government level. That's going on right now.
Well, and it,
I didn't know it was going on. I knew it was kind of bad, some of the, because I there's people promoting just do AI videos and slap them up on YouTube, and they're giving the wrong. I'm not a proponent of what they're huge on. There's a ton of people huge on social media right now selling their AI software to make AI videos for YouTube that may have been okay last year. It's all going to be pulled down this year, and it seems like it's really heavy on YouTube Kids. So I've seen that in the last week where channels are people are just like, "Hey, my channel got pulled down." I'm like, "You don't even have any videos with a human or any like legitimate stuff on your channel." So it's
well, my
just
last comment, just to finish up the kids, the other thing is it's really affecting the attention span with this like AI slop because it's like super, super fast, changing very much like constant like adrenaline right hits and that's not normal, like that's not normal, and when you have them really little watching it, it's affecting the kids. So that's a whole other thing. I would say for everybody here, we just want to keep it for everyone to see, keep it as adult, and if you do want to go down the kids hole, that's a whole different conversation. But I would say for majority of us, we just want to make it that it's for
we're not really sure. Like, we know when we go to upload something to YouTube, if it has music in it, it's gonna be slapped with copyright. If you're
that's
using
yeah.
Sarah has brought up Suno in the past. I'm pretty sure YouTube's gonna slap everything that has Suno in it with a copyright claim soon. Soon. It may not have happened yet, but soon. Just because
Well, that's
it,
also why I don't add any sounds. I don't even use the recommended YouTube. And I've mentioned this before because I have had videos, so shorts that I would just use whatever was recommended, like a sound that would be appropriate for my little short. I still get random ones that I had posted 2, 3 years ago that now are being taken down because it is now copyright the music. So I was able to use them for years
oh, you're
and
able
now
to
it's
use them, you're
copyright.
just not going to be able to use them as leverage towards your
No, they
monetization.
take them down now. They take them down. So I get an option to download it without sound. I get 30 days to download my clip without sound that I could then maybe reuse. But again, it's got a YouTube marking, so it doesn't even really, you might as well just re-upload it if you've still got the original. So I specifically, based on my personal experience, I avoid music I didn't make. I avoid content I didn't create. I avoid doing anything that I didn't, except for maybe thumbnails. Thumbnails I use AI to help me make, and I will use AI to help me put my thoughts together and get a script. And that's as much as I use because I'm doing it in the point that I've seen issues with every other aspect of adding in features of AI, just from my own experience. And until that gets into a point where we've got more consistency, I just try to avoid it
I
because
think
things are changing so much.
I think I think we'll see a lot of changes by the end of 2026. Is that we might get to the point where the only AI images that are acceptable to use on YouTube are really anything creating coming from Google's own Gemini. They may
Yeah.
start slap. It hasn't happened yet because I know in the visibility engine when we're stepping students through making making thumbnails or graphics for their lives. I'm like, Gemini works great. A lot of people are only trained on ChatGPT. ChatGPT's really leveled up in the last 2 weeks, and words are spelled properly. Background details are actually spelled properly.
Okay.
So it's,
And you have a good point, but I want to point this out because I don't think a lot of people know. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this, but you'll see here my first row of all my YouTube. So I've got my YouTube, the normal app, then I've got YouTube Studio, and now there's this new YouTube Create, which is actually their AI that YouTube is promoting. So that might be the only AI you're allowed to use on in the future with YouTube. I have no idea. I was playing around with it. It was quite hilarious what I was making, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is so ridiculous." Like I made Oh, why I saved this, I have to show you guys because it's just so funny. Okay. So I was essentially trying to do a video using a robot that we could use here about being invisible, right? So I was cueing it because it's using this giant robot and that they're invisible. So they're being taken because they're invisible and being like consumed into this robot that's just taking everybody invisible. Well, this is how it turned out. So can you guys see that? Okay, I'm gonna hit play so you guys can enjoy this video because it is hilarious. Let's see if I can get play here. Like, look at that. Right into the crotch. Right into the crotch. And then there was a firebomb. It was supposed to be into the cage that they were getting picked up. That disappeared. And then there was supposed to be an explosion because they weren't being seen. And I'm like, literally, it's the robots putting people in their crotch. I don't know what to do with this video, but it's hilarious. And that was my experience with using that. So that's about extent of what I've used with it. But that is another way you may want to do is get all of the apps for YouTube and play around with them when you have some time and see what you can create. Because I'm sure there's a lot better things I can use with the YouTube Create. I just haven't had a time to play around with them. But I just thought it was hilarious that everyone was getting caged into the groin of the robot. So that's what's going to happen to you when you're not visible.
okay.
Okay, I just think it's hilarious. Okay, on that, I know David was asking about YouTube clips. Like you're talking about making shorts. Is that correct? What you were asking about, David? Oh, you're muted, so I can't hear what you're saying.
Yep. I knew I was muted. Just
Okay.
fine. Mute. Yeah. So it's just clip. Because I know that we can make clips, and I played around with, so it seems to be very manual on YouTube, right? It's not a like Opus or some of the even Restream has like you can make as many clips that you want.
Well,
You have to pay
Restream and
for it,
Opus.
but yeah.
Restream and Opus are paid tools. YouTube's free, right? So we said it's very important to get to know your content so you
Mhm.
know in your conversation or your podcast exactly what, 30 seconds or a minute clips that you want to clip out of your content in the future.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. No.
yeah,
And
yes,
and that's one of the things, right? Opus will pick out whatever it wants. The same thing as
whatever it wants, and you're gonna
right.
find with Opus
But
or
but there's
Restream
certain parts of the interview
that they
or
may
that
be
I'm like,
terrible or
oh, I
you have to
know I'm saying this. Like
yeah.
even the other night when you and I went live, there's a few things that I said that I knew specifically I'd love to clip because that I would use differently. And some things we were just rambling, and that's okay. It was a test, you
We were,
know.
we were testing to figure out if you knew how to go live on Restream, which I think we figured out towards the end of the call. So
Yep.
And David, we can work both with them because we use a combination. Because I will totally put it through Restream or Opus and get some clips and be like, okay, that's what it read as clips that I might want to take. And
Mhm.
then I still have to often shorten them or take out a clip within the clip if I don't like the whole clip. But I do like the YouTube one because I can go in and then specifically pick out where, like if you where I want to take a short
Yep.
from, right? And so as we were talking about, I don't know if I mentioned it last week in the YouTube University or if it was in the last when we were talking to Jared, but I was mentioning what I've started to do to help me is having, which we're going to talk about today, which we're going to jump on. Mike, I sent you a request so I could share.
go ahead.
Okay, can I share? Okay. Um, one of the things I've used to help me is bringing up images of what I'm talking about. So then when it comes back, I can quickly kind of scan because the images change depending on what topic I'm on, right? So then I can find that part a little bit quicker. But you have to figure out what's going to work for you, the easiest way to make that work. And that's what we're just working on. But we'll work with that some more and we can work on the YouTube ones. Uh, but I don't know. Can you see
Yeah.
my screen?
That something like that would be helpful for me, especially Monday when I want to talk about some of the books that I'm publishing that day, or releasing that day.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, and then we can show you, we can do a little bit more. I can go over
yeah,
exactly how you use it on the phone because you have to make the clips, you do need to use the mobile device. It's not, you can't do it the same way on the desktop. So this is also the thing is not only we have 3 different apps for YouTube, at least for your phone, there's also then the different platform that there's different ends of the studio that are on your actual desktop. So it's just learning where these things are. Some overlap, some
okay.
don't overlap. It's fun. We're just exploring until it
Right,
all
and,
changes
and
again.
people, luckily I'm on the technology side, not to your Mike's level, but the people who are not really get overwhelmed easily because to know the difference between the phone app, the desktop app is I was just looking on the desktop app. That's why I couldn't have the audio. I'm in the hotel room for the next little bit.
Well, and that's really been from experience. Like years of playing around with this is how I've learned it. That is how. Like I didn't go in and be like, I'm going to learn how to use these. I started very much, and Mike's like, you need to be seen. You got to start showing up. Mike told me that. So I started going with the easiest way I could start showing up each day, which was doing a card pull. So I just do these like short videos, 30 seconds, where I pull a card, give a little thing, and then uploaded it. So I started playing around with the music features. I started playing around with the clip features. I've learned it by just starting. And that's really how we've learned a huge amount, right? And so that goes into a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today, because I think this is a good transition now to jump into today's topic about what creators need to do before starting. Now, of course, everybody's at different levels. A lot of us have started, but this is a good time to go over some of the best practices and some of the things that are going to help to make it a little bit easier. Not that I can say everything is always going to be easy, because there is unfortunately nothing's easy in life and nothing is perfect. And if it's easy, you should question it. Okay, maybe there's occasional easy thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
usually everybody would do it, right? That's
exactly. Okay, so the first thing to start when you get into this, and Mike, add on and jump in when we go. So before you start, this is the first thing, like we were talking about Lucretia, like we've been talking about with you, David, and with all of our YouTube University students or our visibility engine. Pick a date, go live, stop waiting for perfection. Because you can't get better if you don't just start doing it, right? Like if you have nothing to go on, if you're waiting to be perfect, but you've never practiced, there's nothing, even are like if you go even actors start at one level and they practice and they practice and they practice and they get better, right? Just like anybody in any industry, you might have a natural talent towards it, but if you don't just start doing it, you never get better. Any other thoughts on number one, Mike? Just start.
Just start. As you can tell, we've been advertising. We have um 4 shows per week that we're producing right now. So Thursday evening, Saturday morning, and two on Sunday. That's correct. That's the schedule, right? Just because we're playing with different formats and different types of content. Also, we're in our Oh, we're in our own visibility engine. So we're like, okay, we're gonna demonstrate to our students how to pick a time per week to go live, schedule that event so it's showing up on your YouTube channels, telling your audience when you're going to go live, and we're just playing with different formats and different genres, right? So,
And the point, it's just pick a date, stop, it's really that should be stop procrastinating. You have to start. You can't get better if you don't start taking those steps. Then this comes to what I had mentioned earlier. No one cares yet. So you don't have millions of subs. That's great. That's the freedom. You can experiment, you can learn publicly, you can make mistakes. And it's really anybody that's following you and starts to appreciate you, they're not going to mind. But it also is this whole thing that you don't have, thousands and thousands of people they're judging you, right? So you've got that freedom when you're starting to learn and start mastering the process. That's for you, Mike. Any thoughts on that?
no, I'm filling
No.
up the video details on YouTube's back end. Sorry. I'm like, oh wait, I'm streaming it. I have to go turn on monetization, right? It's just that extra level. I was like, I forgot to turn on monetization. So
Fun times, fun times. So that is the first. So getting started, just start, pick the date, go live, stop waiting to be perfect, and then no one cares. So it gives you that freedom and that flexibility to just get better at making the content that you're making, right? Let me go to the next one here. Okay, find your reason to watch. And it's funny because I have all these images open that I can't even find my image that I have here because I wanted to make sure I could read it. And I think I need, and everything is just crap. What the heck? Just talk amongst yourself. My screen has
well, did we answer everybody's question?
I don't know. And I'm okay, there we go. Everything just disappeared off of my page. Here we go.
That's
Okay.
really small. I can see like I,
Okay, can you see
there
it
we go.
now? There, I
It
know because
works
I
now.
lost it. I lost my page and everything froze. See, this is the great part is I think the one thing about starting to live stream, starting to do this stuff and put yourself out there as being perfectly imperfect is you just have to get good at things not flowing
And you
well.
come on, I'm only streaming this to multiple YouTube channels, my LinkedIn and my Facebook, so everybody can watch us do an amazing presentation.
Amazingly imperfect presentation. Okay, so finding your reason to watch. Your content needs value. So this is the other thing. So first, you just got to show up. Second, this is your practice. You're not worrying too much because you're getting to practice and get that skill. Now, what is the value? Are you entertaining people? Is it funny, interesting, memorable moments? Are you educating like Lucretia? Lucretia is very much educating people in one of hers, right? Are you teaching something, solving a problem, sharing an experience? Energy, your vibe matters. Makes people feel something, build connection. And then part of it, so what is the reason? So have that in the back of your mind, or maybe even have it written down. What is my intent with doing it? Now, am I educating people about my business? So one of our students who is a chiropractor, a lot of his content is education to teach people how to take care of their body better, right? So that would be his intent, not only promoting his business, but it's educating people as well, right? And then part of that is improving each upload. So it is reviewing your streams. Now, this is something that took me a long time to get better and better and be okay because where I started to start showing up every day was, like I said, just doing these little shorts of pulling a card for the day and what the energy was. And so I was only voicing it over. I was always using my own voiceover. Maybe I'd put in some writing, but the more I voiced it over, the more I got comfortable at hearing myself speak. Then I was really reaching kind of a plateau of where, okay, me not being visible on this channel is kind of a problem. And I think I need to start being visible. Then I had to get over the next hurdle of actually being okay seeing myself on camera. So not only hearing myself, being okay to see myself, right? And then you start to adapt because you have to review your streams. You need to take a moment to look. Watching what what did you like about your stream? Then you can also put in, when you pull up the clips like David was talking about, if there's something you said really well or had an interview, you pull that out. But it's also good, okay, here I got a little boring, or here, okay, maybe I went a little bit too long. And the idea is not to be like, oh, I suck. It's to get yourself to improve, right? Like it's all about improving ourselves. Like that's all we can do. And again, what our own personal opinion, other people may not even see it the same way, right? So again, we're just looking at getting comfortable hearing yourself so you can be more comfortable improving the process. Looks like you want to say something, Mike, on that.
No, I was just laughing because when Kristen brought up that she was doing that interview and then somebody touched the camera and I'm like, no, somebody touched the camera in the middle of an interview, right? It just you're never gonna have full control over. I was actually laughing because this is an awesome info. This is an awesome graphic because in the right hand side of the screen it points out where you're boring. But
Yeah.
just you can't. You can it's just repetition, repetition. You got to do this stuff every single week, if not every single day, because the more you refine your processes, you're just going to feel so much more confident with you doing this. And um I would like when I was coming up with this idea for YouTube University, I was literally just told, I was literally just told by my coach in Delaware, he's like, why are you not just doing it? You're talking the game, you're talk, 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 talk. It's like what my wife likes to say that I'm full of BS sometimes. I'm like, no, they're good ideas, but you gotta just go. You gotta start. The best time to start was yesterday. The next best time to start is today. So for all of you who have started with live streaming, congratulations because you got started. You got over that, you know, that fear of screw up. Because guess what? You could be doing it for a year like the YouTube University. Today's week 50. We're still gonna have screw ups, and I'm still gonna have potential screw ups in the future. And it's okay because you know what? Worst case scenario, somebody sees it, they're like, hey, that time you screwed up. I'm like, hey, you watched. I have an audience member who remembered.
Oh yeah, that
That's
happened
the
to me.
only
But
thing that's important is the
yes,
audience remembered something critical from I was
they
like,
watched it long enough to even see you do
and
that.
then I'm
Because it
like,
was
do
funny
you,
because I did get that feedback because I was super annoyed at you on one of those videos and I actually snapped at you because that was when I was calling your BS because I'm going to call your BS. And one of my friends who I knew he had been watching some of my stuff, but he was telling me, he's like, I watched that. It was a little cringe. And I was like, oh, but you watched it? You made it to
exactly,
that part?
exactly, because your audience, like, we have somebody can come back and say that we're cringe, and I'm like, hey, thanks for the feedback, because guess what? They're not doing this. They're not doing this to build their audience, and internally, they think they should be doing it because they brought it up. The only reason they brought it up is because they know they should be doing the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and fair enough. I acknowledge that I was like, oh, well, I'm glad. And in fairness, I went back to the first screen of going, I don't have millions of subs. So how many people actually even made it to that part where I got snappy at my husband? You know? And I'm like, oh, somebody actually did make it to that part, right? So we don't actually know who's watching, and there is always somebody watching. And this was another video I recently saw, which is like, stop counting subs, stop looking at those numbers, just keep creating because that's how you're going to refine your process and how you're going to get
You
better
don't you
at
don't you don't you don't even know if the numbers of lives is even accurate. So why does it even matter?
it.
The only,
Exactly,
the only the
exactly.
only thing that would be accurate is if your audience is leaving you comments because I don't know if I
Well, we know we've had experiences where YouTube numberings can be totally off and people complain about it. So we have to also pull out our perception of attaching to traditional what we would normally give ourselves a pat on the back. Oh, subs, oh this or that. No, we want to see just consistent improvement in the content. That is really it. Like bringing it back down that, what we have to stay on what's going to keep us motivated. And if your only motivation is that you keep building in subs and you hit a plateau, you're going to stop showing up. And that's going to be counterproductive, especially when you get to that hurdle where you're kind of plateauing on subs and you need to you that is when you almost need to double down and keep pushing through, right? So this is why your setup matters. Okay. So this is some other things when you start that are going to really help you. And this is the big one we really wanted to point out because I know Mike was pointing this out, the camera. Okay. So when you go and do your lives or whether you're doing something recorded, you want to look like me and Mike. You want to be in the center of the page, right? Like, unless you're physically doing some kind of exercise and you're further out, again, you're still going to be in the center of the screen, but you want your eye centered, level, head and shoulders visible. We don't want to see your crotch. They don't want to see up your nose. You want to be able to see
I don't
straight
want to.
and
I don't
right.
want to see the ceiling. Like, there's just a lot of like, and I know it can be a challenge because if you're using a laptop versus if you're using a webcam on a desktop computer, but realistically, that camera should be like at your eye level, not pointed up, not pointed down. Just
It's just best practice, right? Because people, if you're like this, like if I was like this, and you're like looking up into my ceiling, and I'm like, yeah, people aren't going to really watch this. Do you really want to see up my nose? And so we have to think about that we're already showing up. Let's not make them look up our nose, right? Or at our crotch and that type of stuff, right? The lighting, it does, really just avoid that you can't be seen. Now, I'm not going to lie. I did do a live because I had booked it and we were traveling and it was pitch black out and you can barely see me in it. I would never say it's my best live, and I know it was not perfect because you couldn't really see me, but I did think it was important to show up. So sometimes these things are the best practices that you're going to do 90%, 99% of the time, but for me, it was better for me to show up even though it wasn't the perfect lighting. But overall, 99% of my videos, you can clearly see me, right? Audio, again, that's a big thing that we will always. So having a production manager or somebody that's helping you in the back end to confirm that they can hear you, that is a big one because a lot of people, we want to do things by ourselves, but having somebody, whether it is somebody who ends up subscribing that we start to trust that because they're showing up on our lives all the time, that'll just say, hey, we can't hear you, or having somebody like Mike, a production manager, or myself in the back end who can say, yeah, looks good. It's streaming on all these platforms if you're doing multiple platforms, and that you can be heard, right?
yeah, and
Any thoughts on that?
like camera lighting and audio, three super important things. I think audio, like if the live is engaged, if the video is engaging, you can't the can't light if lighting's, you'll see people doing lives from outside if they're reporting, like if they're a citizen reporter or guerrilla reporter, they're outside doing like you can get away with the shitty camera lighting. The audio though is super, and this is why you'll see the rise of these things, these portable mics, because you'll see, when you watch somebody doing a video and they've got this up to their mouth and then they've got maybe the fuzzy boot on it or whatever. Um, I highly recommend having wireless lav mics because I use them all the time. But you'll see them if they're doing this with a microphone, you know that they understand how important the audio is because they've already gone through somebody telling them they have shit audio, so they went and ordered this stuff for like $100 off Amazon,
Exactly.
and they know they've already tested it. They know how far this needs to be from their mouth because they've got an audience and they're super focused on good audio, even if the camera is waving around because they're on an iPhone or lighting or it's nighttime. As
Yeah.
long as the audio is good, your audience is engaged.
And that is true because audio is more important than lighting. And I would completely agree because with my lighting, I still had a decent amount of people listening because they could hear what I was saying, right? And I will often, because I do talk quite quickly, sometimes I will have issues with the internet and like I'm
Oh
moving
no,
behind. So you're hearing the audio,
you
but you're
just talk too
seeing me
fast.
move at a different speed. However, that usually will not be a problem because as long as they can hear you clearly, that will get over any issues with the visibility of, because there'll be parts where I'm even reviewing my own video and suddenly like there's just this 5-minute part where I'm completely out of alignment where you can tell I'm not talking in sync for whatever reason, but it's not a big hurdle because at least it's clear and concise and then it goes back into alignment, which that's another issue, is it? But I would say audio is probably the most important because people may not be staring at their phone or their computer, but if they can still hear you, they will stay engaged, especially if you're talking about something that they're really interested in.
Well, in most platforms that it will start transcriptions. So,
Exactly.
if your audio is good, then YouTube Live or Facebook Live or whatever, the transcription will actually be able to be added by that service because the transcription service understand if you're speaking clearly, the transcriptions should be at least somewhat accurate based on what your
Mhm.
speech is. So.
Exactly, exactly. Not like, it's always funny when you get those weird ones where it didn't really read it right. And you're like, that's kind of funny how it translated it, but whatever. But yes, that is correct. And then the last thing, this would be what I was mentioning before, the topic. Tell viewers what the stream is about. So, of course, that is as basic as making sure it's in your title, right? So the people kind of know what you're talking about. But really, what I've started to implement, so I'm trying this out myself, is doing things like this, like where we have a screen. So if somebody jumped in right now in our live, that they know we're talking about finding, or which one this your setup matters. They know we're talking about that right now, right? So
And this
then
is good. And this is also good for us making shorts because we've got images up on the screen. So it's just whatever the audio of us talking about is, you have a clear picture of visually you understand what we're talking about, even if you're not going to listen to the audio because these images are high quality and they're, you know,
well, they give you the
infographics.
notes too, right? So we know with this screen, you talked maybe 5 or 10 minutes with one screen, and you're like, oh yeah, when I was on this screen, we talked about this, and I want to take that clip out. It's going to make it way easier if you're going back through an hour or 2 hours of content to find that if you have a screen that you've been changing every 5 or 10 minutes, right? Because then you don't have to go through the whole 2 hours, which I would still highly recommend you do listen to. However, when you're like backtracking, you might have it in the background and you're not watching it, right? So it just helps you find that. So
Well,
it helps the viewer know when you're live what you're talking about. So this is
well,
just something we started
Well,
implementing.
Julie, and the whole part of, as I said, knowing your content, that's why the key part of the visibility engine system is teaching the students to go live, one live per week, because that's like a 30-minute or 1 hour live in 7 days, you should be able to go live once, review that recording, and then know where your hooks are, so you can go and start chopping it. That should be a doable goal in 1 week is 1 hour live. Watch it so you can make your own notes on your content. So when you go to edit it, you're like, hey, at 2 minutes in, it was good. At 6 minutes in, it was good. Getting to know your content. Anyway,
Exactly, exactly. And knowing how you were talking too, right? Or been noticing, and you'll know what state you were in when you did your live too. So you might find like when I was calling Mike on BS and getting annoyed, I knew I was feeling annoyed. And then when I see it, I was like, oh, I actually came off less annoyed than I thought I did. So there you go, right? So to improve every stream, even just getting 1% better each time is what we want to do. We just want to continuously see growth of getting more comfortable and building it and just making it a little bit better each time, right? So watching your videos, as we've talked about, see what actually happened. Try to take it from a new perspective because, of course, when you're doing it is different than when you're watching yourself after the fact, right? And seeing how you really are, right? Which again, that can be difficult. Like we're pushing you to start to reflect on yourself in a visual form that's recorded, right? So this is like in my mind, I think about if they had a camera in the corner of your house and watched everything you did and then made you watch it later to see how you reacted well, how you didn't react well, and give your own self feedback. That's almost that same version when we go live, right? Like you've got a camera and now you have to see and actually reflect. Oh, like looking at yourself, which it is scary. However, the more you do it, it becomes part of your natural process, and then you suddenly realize you now accept yourself. So it's this weird level of how, you start getting over your own hurdles. So watch your videos. Do watch them. Find those boring moments, see where you're like, oh man, I talked too long about that topic. Just starting to become aware, right, of where you can start doing it. Fix one thing. Again, you might notice, oh my God, I did this and this and this, and I did this wrong, especially when you're first starting. You might be so judgmental to yourself that you literally give yourself 100 things that you think you sucked at. Choose one thing that you can easily start to work on, right? And each live focus on bringing something new in. Track the progress. Again, that may not be subs and watch hours and this and that. It might be just well, maybe somebody made a comment. Maybe this flow was flowing easier. Oh, maybe I had no issues going live. So just noticing how your progress is going. And then, of course, continuing to repeat it, because this doesn't work if you don't keep doing it, because we're not going to get that 1% better if we don't stay consistent. So that's really the most important thing. Consistency is what will compound and help you grow in the long run. Any other thoughts on that, Mike?
No, it's literally I I just said it's one live per week. Do it, even if it is easier when you have a co-host, but you may find that you have more disruptions when you have a co-host, because if you've not actually done a podcast with that co-host before, you're just gonna have more if you're live streaming yourself, you're pacing yourself, adding in that this is what we've been fine. YouTube University on Saturday is a little bit different than the other shows that Julie came up with, structure and scripts for, because my Hollywood training was all read from a script and be ready to act, read my lines in a room of like 10 to 15 other actors at the same time. So that's way different than, I don't have the improv skills, right? So I was like,
That's what I'm like,
okay.
Mike, just talk to
No,
me. Like you, and then there's
it,
me. I'm like, I hate overly scripted. I will literally come with
so
jot notes, and I'm like, if you make me say a specific line, I'm gonna go like this. No,
so
I'm
that well,
gonna improv it.
this is why you weren't on the Mupo Entertainment stage, because
I was never gonna memorize lines. I would have
exactly,
improved all of them and made everybody mad.
but having a variety, but training yourself to be comfortable with a variety of formats. So it's like Mr. Chemetsky and I did a live the other day, and I'm like, that's the first time. We've done FaceTime calls before, but like going live is just like, okay, we didn't have a script, so just like, we were just kind of au natural doing it, and repeat, 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 repeat is the only way you're gonna improve on. Remember to stare at the camera. Make sure there's not background noise. What's
Make
your
sure the
lighting
camera can
like?
see you. Make sure your
Is your
audio
is your
works.
camera pointing up at the ceiling, or like we're also in 2026. So what was really popular 2021 to 2024 was the Zoom calls, and people also didn't really dress appropriately for Zoom. So just remember, be fully clothed when you're on camera, because you never know if you're gonna get up and if
Oh my
something's gonna
God.
come in and
Okay, okay.
distract you. I'm like, are
Let's
you
go into the point that if you're not wearing pants, don't move. That's all I can say.
exactly?
Okay.
Because I see a lot of video footage like that when I review people's YouTubes, and I'm like, okay, these people are definitely still in that Zoom mentality from the pandemic, and they're not quite showing up 100% ready for the camera.
No, and but the reality is you only really have to show up from the top up. And that only matters as long as you don't move and you know where your camera is,
Just
It's all
right?
saying,
about
people got cat,
self-awareness, right? It's all about self-awareness, guys. I mean, like, the same thing is if you're videoing from lying in a bed, that's the image that people are going to see. It's fine as long as it's appropriate. But it really is. This is all your business, right? If you're pitching a
Exactly.
story, if you're going to teach me about getting over, you want to teach me underwater basket weaving, you better be in a pool, right? You have to be doing the things that you're doing. If you're teaching me about mindset, and then I look in the back of your place, and there's somebody hanging from the rafters. That's not, you want to be aligned. It's all branding.
That's an extreme example, but I do agree, David. I do agree.
Yeah.
well,
I
no, it's
use
That's
just like
extreme
true.
so that way we
I
can remember it versus
I'm
something
just
that,
gonna say, because I know I've got clients who are creators, and they're like, they're the cat ladies, and they're like, oh, my cat's on my keyboard. I'm like,
that's fine.
your cat's gonna interrupt your, just get like can you not put the cat somewhere else because the cat's
Or
gonna come
you
into
roll it
the
into your
live stream?
show. It becomes
I
part of your
know, but I'm
show. I
like
see that all the
usually
time.
usually there's like, oh, the cat's on the keyboard and hit the wrong buttons or whatever, and I'm like, you have full control over your environment.
Yes. And that would be the other thing, right? Well, so having that quiet space, making sure the lighting is there, close the door. And if your cat does break in, like I'm going to say our dogs can open doors and can break into places, you make it part of it, right? So it's also just
Yeah.
getting good with being able to
You
be more.
usually
No, I was going to
usually
say,
go
Mike,
ahead.
let me finish. The improv, being able to go with whatever circumstances happen when you're live. Because when you're live, you might have controlled your mic works, your camera works, your lighting's good, you've got everything looks good, but something outside can totally distract it that you had no control over because suddenly now there's an emergency and there's literally an ambulance right outside your door screeching and there's nothing you can do about it. So we have to get good at the improv. But this really leads to the overall summary. It's not talent, it is a system. It's having a system in place, a system where you've got clear plan, consistent action, and real growth. Because if you come in with a plan, you come in with an idea, you're consistently seeing yourself grow, and you've got that flexibility and that understanding that things are, if you have a perfect live and everything works perfect, wonderful. But it's almost you have to come to that assumption that things are going to go wrong all the time. And then if they don't, then you won, right? So we want to make sure you've got a system. So it's not luck. It's not just posting random things going on some trend. You don't have a direction. You don't have a plan. What are you doing? Are you educating people? Are you entertaining them? Maybe you're doing a combination as you're selling a product. When you don't have that, it's going to be harder to get your message out. So you really want that clear, concise plan. And then that is really, again, what we want to remind everybody because we're literally in the last week of the founders pricing here is to get into the visibility engine because we are still doing extra coaching. If you do join us and get started now, you'll get the next few weeks until we go into the next session in June. So those are going to be included. And it's start before you're ready. If you build it up, like I worked in fitness, okay? Years. I was a personal trainer. I went into yoga. January was always so cringe. It bothered me, especially selling memberships to a gym, because you would suddenly have this influx of hundreds of people that would sign up because they wouldn't sign up middle of December, didn't sign up when they felt like they needed to. They'd wait for that January 2nd, 3rd, whatever day that was.
Fail.
There were always failed. They always failed because you know what? The reality is you just start. You don't put it on a calendar. You don't say, oh, in 2 weeks I'm starting this. You start doing it. And this is how I've started because I learned that very early on because I was in that industry when I was like 18, 19 in fitness and did that for a number of years till I was about 25, 26. So I had all this experience. It really motivated me to be like, if I'm going to start doing something, I start that day. As soon as I get that inspiration that I want to start implementing something, I do it. I don't procrastinate because the more you procrastinate, guess what you're going to do? You're going to convince yourself not to do it because you've built this up or you're building up. Oh, I'm going to do my live in 2 weeks. And then the days get closer and closer. And then you'll find every excuse to not do it because you've built it up as this great big thing and this hurdle, but you've never made those steps. So start before you're ready. Just start, right? Because that's how it's going to matter. Your setup matters, right? And you don't have to have a complex, expensive system in place as we're talking about. It's just knowing what you've got for tools and working with your tools, which you can always upgrade later on. Any thoughts on the setup?
As I said, we're using MacBooks. We've got a bunch of students who just started and they went out and got MacBook Neos, which are like $600.
And you don't have
So
to do that. You don't, right?
exactly. While we're teaching you, I'm like, the reason we say YouTube, no account, it's free. The reason we've started people on Restream is because you can live stream to YouTube, two places for free using Restream by itself, not including Zoom. So we're giving you the tool, no, there's no barrier to entry other than your mindset at this
Exactly,
moment.
exactly. So then we want to find your reason to watch. We talked about that. What are you What is your message? What are you doing? And then improving the stream. So getting that, whether you want us to give you feedback or you're doing your own feedback, you're welcome. You don't have to take feedback from other people. You can look at yourself and do your own, but you want to see improvement and have a little bit of a goal of, okay, maybe I want to do this shorter, maybe I want to go longer, whatever it is. So with this visibility engine, again, every week you're getting us one-on-one, you're getting live coaching sessions. We're working on improving systems, showing you, because we're going to hold the hand with David. We'll work with him and I'll show him how to make a clip out of YouTube. So he knows how to do it with Opus. He knows how to do it with Restream. And then if he just wants to go get a specific clip, he's going to know how to do that as well. And then we want a community accountability. We're going to keep you accountable. We're going to say, have you planned your live stream? I don't see it on your thing. I don't see this live stream. When are you going live, right? We're going to help kind of light the fire under your tush and giving it step by step. By the end of this, we want you to take away a plan of how you can continue doing this as part of your normal routine. So you keep showing up at least once a week live and continuing with that. And then those are how you're going to get the results compounding, is because you're showing up all the time. You keep showing up, you keep improving, it's going to get easier. Why don't you do the last stuff, Mike, about the program?
Where were you on that screen?
Bottom line, as starts.
Okay, so as you know, it's still May. The second group of the visibility engine starts June 1st.
It's a
So
Monday.
it's a Monday. We picked it to be a Monday. It's 8 weeks. We meet twice a week. What that could be one-on-one, that could be group session, that could be a live podcast between me and you. We're touching base with you every single day to see what your progress is. Because when we meet on a Monday, we're like, okay, here's the goal for here's your homework for this week. And then by Thursday, we're like, have you progressed? Have you run into a tech issue? Like what is going like have you done that homework yet, right? And then we're
It
just
was very
gonna
much like, what hurdle are you hitting that we can help you with?
could be health, could be family, could be scheduling, could be you're stuck in the technology mind. You're just the mindset's stuck, and it's like we're like, okay, let's go back to what we taught spoke about on Monday, right? So, the best part though of the is right now. If you haven't enrolled, if you haven't started, there's a lot of time before June 1st. The price goes up May 15th. If you lock in the price right now before May 15th, we're going to give you a whole month of May free, which is 6 extra sessions, 6 extra one-on-one sessions, which is tremendous value because some students, when they get started, they're off to the races and they're super quick and they're testing the limits themselves and checking in to say, hey, did I do this right? And others, it's very much babysitting every single step and they're very, each student moves at their own speed, which is great because it really tests me as an instructor to say, hey, you know, how much more attention does each like every human's different and every human takes
Exactly.
feedback different, right? And other people are like, I don't want to do this, Mike. And I'm like, okay, you don't want to do lives, then you got to make sure you're doing a ton of shorts per week. Five, like one,
Or recorded or whatever. And we'll work.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
because our focus is to work with you to help you be successful. And we get every person's got their own hurdles or their own limiting beliefs or whatever that they need just to be kind of guided around. It's like you got the little bit of this imaginary wall. We're just going to help you break the like hole so you can get through it. And
The podcast I was on yesterday was really me talking to another author, and he's like, "What do you mean? How can authors repurpose their books on YouTube?" And I just showed a picture of one of my books, and I'm like, "This is what I'm doing." And then he's like, "So I could do A, B, C, D, or like all these options." And he's like, "I've got a kid's coloring book to promote," and I'm like, "That's a perfect example of something that you can make." And he's like, we got to talk more. And I'm like, we do because I'm here to give you these steps so you can work through the steps of the visibility engine, my framework that that we designed, but also I'm here as your idea engine. I want to keep giving you ideas. You may not like the ideas, but I'm giving you ideas to test to make content creation exciting and fun because you might find that if you're just doing a live or like you may run out of ideas, and we're here to give you new ideas and
Well,
to
we have literally consumed ourselves with hundreds and thousands of hours of YouTube. And now it is very much like I talked about last week, which is not becoming a viewer as much as becoming somebody who you're learning from the people you're viewing, right? So that idea that you're a viewer, you're watching and consuming content on YouTube, but you're also taking it from a creator perspective and going, "Oh, now I see why they did this. Oh, now I understand why this is." Like looking at how they're creating and just being a little bit more aware. And it was funny because I pointed out I love watching the Y Files. If you guys see them on, he's very popular. He had his own TV show back in the day, and he does all these like, weird stories and stuff like that. But I finally figured out to me why he had this hecklefish. I'm like, that's his sidekick. And he couldn't convince anybody else to show up with him that would have done it the best way. So he needed this like character he calls Hecklefish, which is his alternate personality. It's probably all the intrusive thoughts he really thinks. He puts in this character as his like back and forth conversation, right? And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. Because I never thought about it because when I'm working and we're developing and trying different techniques, I'm like, I need a co-host. The only person I know, I'm going to drag my husband in, and success and struggles, right? And going, maybe I should have created myself a hecklefish, right? So there's all these possibilities of seeing what other creators are doing, and can we implement variations of them, or starting to realize, well, why did they do it? Now I understand why they did that, right? So the idea is we're going to help you get over those hurdles. So if you do need a co-host, if you think you want to add something, we have ideas out. Like I have so many ideas that I wish I was more interesting. I wish I had something that was more interesting to sell. That's all I can say on that. But yes, on that, we're starting at June 1st. You want to get started. We're going to hold your hand through these first few weeks to get you set up. So when we go forward on the 1st, you're going to be ready to start doing your lives. Like that would be the goal, is where when we start by June 1st, we want you already up to that point that you're going to start doing the lives.
Yeah, I haven't got nothing else to say because really it's all about just getting started. So you get started with us or you get started by yourself, just get started and show up every Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern for YouTube University. There's a reason it exists. It's Ask Me Anything, and we want to be pounded with, we want to be have so many this is how Julie and I learn, because you come with questions, we answer the questions, and then we go and go find answers during the week, because there's always something changing with YouTube. There's always something going on, and we learn from other creators, and then official YouTube classes that we both do, and then your questions that you ask us every week. So
Yeah.
keep
And
bringing
there's so
questions.
much that's always going on. Like I said, with this app, the YouTube creator app, which I haven't even really touched on. Like that's a whole nother hole of ways to create content and do that, right? So there's constantly changes and just refining what the process is. So we want to be your coach, get us to be your visibility engine coaches, and join us. So we're on again tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, I'll be on my weekly forecast at 11:11 a.m. If you want to join me with what the energies are for the week. And then tomorrow night at 7, our new show, the Too Real, where we do two truths and a lie. So the stories are all laid out. They're tech-based right now, and we're talking about them in like, am I the asshole, and a scenario, and then Mike gets to guess which one's a lie, which is getting harder, and because I'm getting smarter of understanding when I'm prepping that, seeing how
I've been
AI
correct 2
can.
weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row, I've been correct.
You were correct, but then you've told me what gave it away. So I'm getting smarter at what AI does that gives away a story. It makes it less real. So it's a fun part. And then Thursdays we do, and honestly though, like this past week we talked about specifically the energies and about how we're going through right now, where a lot of people are going through an identity crisis, okay? And this really started, I went through one of these years ago. And now it's being highlighted from 2020 onwards. So we really have this identity crisis where when we got into COVID, people were put into two groups who were either essential or non-essential, and how that psychologically affected people. And then so we went through that whole thing. So you were either important or not important, and how that affected you. And then whether you were sent home, realizing that most of your workday, if you did work in an office, was literally performance, right? And then we've transitioned now where AI if you still had a job, is now replacing you. So how does that affect us and who we are and our roles of how we define ourselves? So this is all happening in our lives. And if we want to define ourselves, you need to create content. You need to define yourself and how you will fit into this new reality. And you have to find a way to stand out in this new reality. And that's true.
There's no dogs in here to bark and have a fight. So, we're 20 minutes over. Are we wrapping up? Are we finished?
Well, I got the last
I hear
screen.
that. I hear the RV door slamming, so it's either grandpa looking for my help or a child.
My grandpa or a child. Yeah.
Somebody's looking for me, so I gotta go pay attention to humans in my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Me
Well,
too.
come and join us. Join us tomorrow night for sure. Come and watch The Two Truths and a Lie. It is I think it's probably one of the best shows. And being that my 13-year-old actually likes it, we got to give it that it's got some validity when a 13-year-old actually likes that show. That's all I can say. So come and join us. And we will see everybody again next week. Same time, same place, YouTube University. And we highly recommend by next Saturday, this deal is over because that's the 16th. So you have till Friday to get in on the founders pricing. So reach out, let us know, and we will start helping you get visible so you can go forward. Go forward because we're right now in a time of compression. So this is the best time to start building it up because when all the energy's changed, you will be prepared for the new.
Exactly. And if you start, I tell you every single week, after I go live, people call me. So people like past customers are calling me to say, "Hey, I saw you went live. I now have an issue with my computer." And I was like, "Okay, great." So when you're visible, people remember that you're visible. And if you haven't been visible and you start being visible, people are going to know that you've become visible. So it's super simple, and this is why exactly why we started YouTube University, why we started the visibility engine was to make sure it's attainable for everyone in bite-sized pieces. After 8 weeks, you've got the whole program yourself. It's just up to you to keep repeat and rinsing and making sure that you're going visible and showing up everywhere and you're comfortable with yourself and your own skin. And that's what we're teaching you over 8 weeks with the visibility engine. So
Don't take it too seriously. We take our life too seriously. We take ourselves too seriously. We have expectations that are unrealistic about ourselves. And we want to break those all down because you know what? We're all human. We're not AIs. And every single human has very similar issues. Like, really, we do, right? And so we'll break that down. Be okay being your imperfectly perfect you and share what your message is because it is annoying when you start seeing people all over. You're like, my God, I just keep seeing them. And that's what we want people to be annoyed that they see you so much. That's what we
ex-
want.
exactly. Anyway, thank you so much for showing up. Everybody have a great weekend and we'll talk to you soon. Be here next
Bye.
Saturday, 9 a.m. Have a good one.